and I got a few stories for you today. You know my good buddy Ernie Davieau. He's had only one of the most incredible Sasquatch experiences known to man. Well, he's been on my channel and many, many others. He's going to end this video today talking with us about a little bit more things that we've never touched on before. But before him, we're going to have two other people that are going to corroborate his story.
You've landed on planet 412. I'll be your captain of sorts as we navigate this strange, cryptid-filled world. Join me on the quest for truth, through the strange, mysterious, and supernatural. This is Planet 412.
We have a great guest today. JJ Squatchman is here. Another person to corroborate things that have happened with Ernie Davieau in the same area. And some of his experiences are really going to be amazing. And I can't wait for all of you to hear them. JJ, how are you tonight?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. It's an honor. You know, I have heard your accounts before, and, you know, I'm really excited to hear it. And, you know, I really just want to thank you for being here, not only to tell everybody about what's happened to you, but also to help, you know, corroborate the situation that occurred with Ernie all those years ago, because that area seems to be quite a hotbed for, you know, Sasquatch experiences.
It sure is. And when I met Ernie on Facebook, it was a godsend. I mean, this man is so credible and so compelling. His story is so unique. And to think it was happening like a stone's throw away from what I've been experiencing, it amazed me. It's just incredible.
It is.
Okay, my nickname is JJ Squatchman, my real name, Jeff Messenger. I grew up here in northwestern Connecticut. I've lived here all my life. Back when I was a kid, it wasn't nearly as wild as it is now. Now we have black bear, we have moose, we have coyotes, we have a wide variety of wildlife that's moved in recently. The black bears, I would say the 1990s. And apparently, along with the regular wildlife has come some unusual wildlife, some visitors, I call them. Visitors from the forest is my nickname for them because, unlike Ernie, I haven't seen them up close and personal. I've seen them at a distance. But I've done a lot of recording, a lot of exploring. I found stick, branch, and tree structures, the kind that Chris Noel, if people are familiar with him, the kind that Chris Noel wrote about in his stick structure book. I wish I had the title on hand. I found foot impressions, about 17, 18 inches long. I have found all sorts of unique and compelling things in the woods. Large trees that have fallen that are just balanced up on stumps, like trees that are incredibly heavy, incredibly big, overlapping the stumps. So it wasn't like a natural tip over and end up on a stump. Some of them are practically rolling off of the stump and they're on there like 3 or 4 inches. Just all sorts of structures, TP-like structures, a lot of X's, of course. All sorts of variety of asterisks and star-like structures made out of branches. And I discovered all this during the pandemic when I started exploring the forest with some extra time that I had. And the first forests I explored were just south of where Ernie had his encounter. So they were extremely close. I would get return wood knocks. Back then I was doing wood knocks. I don't do that anymore. I don't howl. I think these are risky maneuvers that they may not take right. But I was doing wood knocks back then, and I got a few return wood knocks. And I was very surprised because I never expected any activity here in the Connecticut-Massachusetts border area. I know an old lady that lives in the area, and she told me about a window peeker that's about 8 feet tall that was looking in at her. And I didn't believe her. I said to her, no. This area is too populated. This area, there's too many people. The Sasquatch would never visit this area. They would never travel through. They would never live here. And I was wrong. Now I have seen Sasquatch on 2 different occasions. I believe I photographed a white-haired Sasquatch peeking from the bushes. That would be on my YouTube channel. It's called Bigfoot Found, Winsted Wildman Research Organization. And I saw 2 juveniles bending down, hiding behind a log, one peeking up to look at me again, bent down again, and they crawled away. And they were only about 4 feet high, but they were very dark. Yeah, all sorts of interesting audio recordings. I have voices that are not quite human. It's not like the Sierra sounds, but it's different. Like the kind of voice you have when you speak in a large empty tube, sort of an echoey whistle type voice. That also is on my YouTube channel, a lot of these voices. One extremely low voice, and so low, and so I'm not sure what kind of infrasound power it would have or anything, but one was talking near a barbecue grill, and as he spoke, the grill shook from the vibration. So I had that recording. Just all sorts of bizarre recordings. They have interacted with me. They give me a wood knock once in a while when I walk through the woods, or sometimes even when I leave my house, I'll hear a wood knock in the forest right behind my home. They seem to keep an eye on me. There's a long distance, respectful relationship. We exchange gifts. They have left me turkey feathers, a hawk feather, bird's nests. I leave them. At first, I was leaving peanut butter. I don't recommend leaving food, by the way. It might turn into a negative situation. But at first, before I knew any better, I was leaving peanut butter, and I actually got like an EVP whisper on one of my recordings. Do you have any honey? So I started leaving honey. And that leads to another issue, the English whispers I get in the forest on my recorders. They're much like electronic voice phenomena you'll get on a haunted house or a ghost investigation. I'm not sure what's going on with these. Is it Sasquatch? Is it paranormal, ghosts, some kind of mental telepathy that's being picked up by the equipment? I have not experienced mind speak. I have not heard them in my own mind, but I have recorded these whispers. And just a large variety of evidence that I've encountered, all within an extremely close area to Ernie. I would say only about 10 to 20 miles south. And that would complete my story at this point.
I really liked hearing what you said about not gifting food. You hear so many people say that they do that, but yet a lot of negative things have actually started to occur with people that do that. You want to elaborate a little bit more on that?
It's sort of like leaving your front door unlocked or leaving your car unlocked. You don't know who you're associating with. You don't know what type of cryptid or what type of being will be picking up these food gifts. And they might get very angry or ornery if you skip a day, if you skip a week. They might get violent. I've been lucky. The tribe that lives near me, they seem to be very easygoing, except for one belligerent character that I've recorded on my recorder. But once in a while, my house will have a whack, like a hand slap. Sometimes it's very loud, but that's about as aggressive as things have gotten.
Have you ever, right after the slap, gone outside to try and see if there was something out there? Have you ever caught sight of anything?
No.
See,
I pop right out there. I'm like, hey, hello, who's this? And nothing.
It's interesting that you bring that up. I was just discussing this with Ernie the other day too, and with some other people about it's almost like it's a learned kind of thing that they do on purpose, maybe a training that they, are letting that, we're here, but, you don't see us, there's something behind the reason that they're doing that. And it's almost like I'm sure they go through teaching their young about how to do it and get out. I saw an incredible documentary today from Resonance Productions on Amazon Prime, called Bigfoot Paranormal. And it was incredible. And they were putting together a lot of different things about the way that they're able to cloak and the way that they're able to, move. And some of them have shown signs of transforming into other creatures like deer, or even at the end of it, there is one of the most incredible sightings of a Sasquatch I've ever heard. And there were two gentlemen who back each other up, and that's how it ends. They talked about seeing a Sasquatch by a telephone pole, and he basically had bent over and curled up and went into the fetal position, shrunk in size, turned bright orange in hair like an orangutan, and then turned into a ball of orange light, which then lifted off the ground, made a almost rectangular shape, and then gone. Wow. And two men, and they seemed extremely believable. I understand there are a lot of people out there who have never had experiences. They really have trouble wrapping their heads around things that you and I have both seen. But, knowing what I know, what I've seen, and what my three friends saw, and what Ernie has seen, and I believe what you've seen, anything is possible. I actually saw with my dogman encounter a cloaking moment with the front left arm actually did the predator effect kind of thing. And in this documentary, they discuss exactly that. They actually have a film. I really recommend anybody to watch this. Again, it's on Amazon Prime and other things, but from Resonance Productions. It was just incredible. And they have a video. They show this you can almost see the predator effect, and it runs through these bushes and knocks a plant over, a small tree gets knocked down, and you see it run through it's really incredible. I highly recommend it. Resonance Productions does an incredible job with what they are doing.
I've seen various videos of cloaked or transparent figures. You never know in this day and age who's doing the special effects, but they're out there.
Can you again, for everybody, say what was the name of the stick structure book? The person who wrote that again?
Chris Noel, he's a researcher in Vermont.
Noel.
Noel, Noel. Yep.
Okay, and what I'll do for everybody is I will also put that in the description. In fact, I'm seeing it right now. You can get that on Amazon. And what I'll do is I'll put that in the description as well. A field guide to Sasquatch structures, the 50 most common types in North American forest by Christopher Noel.
Awesome book.
$6.99 in paperback. I mean, come on.
Yeah, cheap.
Yeah. So can I ask you this? What the first time, JJ, that you had an experience, what did that do to your paradigm? What did it, how did you react?
My paradigm when I started during the COVID shutdown was that Sasquatch were probably dumb descendants of Gigantopithecus, that they were just organisms, some type of a primate that we haven't identified, sort of the BFRO approach.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I was imitating the BFR approach with the wood knocking and all the noises too, which now I don't do. Because now I know there's communications that they have between each other, and we don't want to send the wrong communication.
Well, right? And you know what? I'm so happy you say that, JJ, because let's all be honest. Everyone watching this right now, I'm looking at all of you. Yeah, you right there. I'm looking at you. They know if it's a human trying to imitate their sound. You're going to drive them away. You're not going to bring them to you.
Yes.
I always am absolutely mortified when I see these videos. It's so cringeworthy to see people doing these calls, and I just shake my head and I put my hand on my head. I'm like, you just or just the most ear-piercing scream, and that just tells them, and they're like, okay, guys, let's go. We're out of it. Let's wait till they leave. We're going now. Yeah, that and the wood knocks. Now, you know, I have actually spoken to someone who had an incredible experience with the Sasquatch, who actually was very close to a Sasquatch that did a wood knock. And he said, it is so incredibly loud, and you can feel the vibrations go through the air. He said, there is no human being on the planet that can imitate a wood knock by one of them. I mean, you've got a creature that's 800 to 1,500 pounds. I hear people say, oh, probably 500 pounds. If you're around 9-10 feet tall, you're around 1,000 pounds. Those things have so much power that they're able to cause trees to reverberate vibrations when they hit them.
Yeah.
They know the difference. Now, the one thing I will say that I think occasionally has some luck is they'll have like those call blasters that they have real recordings. Those have had history of things happening. Or do you have any other types of feelings on how this changed your life and the way that you look at things?
Yes. They're intelligent. I'm not sure with how far the paranormal and the supernatural comes into it. I'm not sure if there's a variety of creatures or cryptids. You obviously experienced one of the most frightening cryptid type sightings, and people that experience dogmen, they're usually take away from it a real sense of that it's predatory, or it's just very frightening.
Yeah.
With most Sasquatch encounters, people get a sense that they're not predatory. They're just curious. They're just spying on you. They want to know what you're up to. They're as curious about us as we are about them, but the difference is they know more about us than we know about them.
For sure. Now, you do obviously have situations where people are bluff charged and forced out of areas, maybe getting too close to where children are, or maybe where they bed down or something like that, or they're in a hunt. Other than that, I would say probably a lot less percentage of negative happenstances with Sabe than the dogmen, for sure.
Yes. Once I had a tree shoved down.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't close. It was at the next ridge over. But it's very disconcerting to hear a large tree go crack, 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 crash.
I'm sure.
And especially when it's not windy. And I remember at the time saying to whoever or whatever may have been the cause, I'm not here to bother you. I'm turning around. I respect the fact that you gave me this warning, or they're warning each other. I'm not sure what the case would be. Generally, they're more accepting of me. I get grunts. I get vocalizations from the bushes. I get, like I was saying, returned gifts on my footpath. They'll leave stick structures where I can see them. One looked like a 4. One was an X that was across a freshwater brook. Right where I crossed the brook, they left an X with a branch over the X. And generally, they're accepting of me. I had one occasion where there was a cheek pop, like, pop. I can't do it.
Oh, wow.
And it whispered my name. It went, Jeff.
Do you have any guesstimation about maybe how many you might have around where you are?
My theory is that there's different family groups that travel a freshwater waterway. I think they travel north and south. I'm not sure how far, but going up to the Cabo Mountain Reservoir area would be feasible, where Ernie had his encounter while hunting. They're family units. There's a lot of younger ones. They were on the roof of that elderly lady's house I was talking about. They walk around. You hear the footsteps on the roof.
Wow.
I heard them one night. I went out. I tried to interact, but no.
You had talked about them knowing your name, which is incredible, but it shows you there's extreme intelligence there. And, anybody, that is a part of my channel and they've seen my second video, you won't believe what happened at Beaver Creek. If you've never seen that, you should check it out. I went to Beaver Creek State Park in Ohio. That's actually where I physically met Ernie for the first time. And I went up a trail where there was supposedly a rock formation that was a portal. Beaver Creek is well known as a Bigfoot hotspot. Dr. Russ Jones and his partner Brad on their show, his partner has a 45-minute audio recording that it sounds so similar to the Sierra sounds. It's incredible.
Wow.
Russ Jones was bluff charged. They had rocks thrown at them so heavy. They said that Dr. Jones said that you could hear not only the kerplunk, you could see it, but you heard the rocks hit the bottom of the water area, the lake or the pond, whatever it was, a clunk. And even after they had left, he said it was still throwing these massive boulders at the water to let them know. And they said we could still hear the rocks hitting the bottom of the lake area, which is, that's not easy to hear. It had to be huge. But I ended up getting an EVP of a grunt and 2 sets of 4 wood knocks that were not audible to my own ears.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's on my second video on Planet 412. it's really incredible. And I always let everyone know, if you've never seen it, when you hear it, if there's another podcast called Cryptid Creatures. Todd Erie and Brian Brock are the two guys that do that show. They do an incredible job. Well, Brian took my audio file and he enhanced the grunt and the 2 sets of wood knocks. So when you listen to it, you can tell that it picks up, there's enhancement just to the audio. But, I always say it because I want people to know, because you can hear the volume lift when those parts happen. It's just the volume being lifted. There's no fakery or,
oh yeah,
and there was a campsite full of people there, and I named them all in the video, and every one of them can corroborate that I went up there by myself. There was nobody up there, and it's really incredible, and there's so much that is going on, more and more stuff happening every day. I truly believe that we're getting on the cusp of something. There's quite a bit more happening these days. I hope before you and I are gone that we get to see more great proof of what's going on. But JJ, I want to thank you for being here today and helping. Did you want to let everybody know where they can find you at on YouTube?
Yes. The name of the YouTube channel is Bigfoot Found, and it's subtitled the Winston Wildman Research Organization. And Ernie has a standing invitation to visit anytime he wants, and so do you.
Thank you.
So,
we'll have to take you up on that offer.
I think if either of you were here and I played the Native American music on the boombox, they like that.
Oh, do they?
We'll get activity. Definitely.
And Ernie plays the Native American flute. We'll have to come out there, visit, and have him bring his flute. I bet that might be able to, for
doing
sure.
it in person may get more of a reaction. Yeah.
We both are in Ohio, so we'll have to make a trip there. I've never been to that state, so I would love to come. Thank you for the offer. And like I said, thank you so much for being here today, everybody. We appreciate you doing that. And for Ernie, and I will, put all of everything in the description of your YouTube channel, and for the book on the stick structures in there. And we just want to say thanks again, and we will definitely see you in the future.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you very much, sir. Without further ado, we're going to bring Fran Davieau into the studio.
My name's Fran, and I'm Ernie's brother, like Matt said. And we grew up in a little city called, little town, I should say, definitely town, called Montgomery, Massachusetts, right outside of Westfield, Massachusetts. The area was, Granville, Southwick. There was, a fairly large wooded area in there. And Ernie wanted me just to, say a couple experiences that I had in that area, because there seems to be a lot of people, and it's been a long time since I've been in that area, but there seems to be a lot of people that have been thinking about what they have encountered in that area. Now, I can say I never, seen Bigfoot, or I can't tell you what color his eyes are or anything like that. I could just tell you what I experienced in that area since I'm going to start my story when I was 4 years old. And that has traumatized me. When the only memory you have when you're 4 years old is this. And I had no idea that what Bigfoot was or anything. I was out in the backyard and I was swinging on the swing set. And I remember my sister Kathy and my brother Ernie, they were in school, so I had to be young. And my little brother was in the house. The swing set was probably about, I would say, 40 yards from the house. And behind the swing set, my dad had built a lean-to. We called it Fort Rest-A-Bit. It was for my older sister who was in the Brownies, and they wanted to come up there and do campfires and, stuff like that. So I'm in the backyard, and I'm swinging on the swing set, and I had fallen off the swing, And when I did, I turned around because Fort Respite sat kind of, it was an A-frame, little A-frame. My dad made it out of plywood. And I couldn't tell you to this day how big it was or anything like that. Ernie told me it was made out of, 8-foot plywood, that, the A-frame type thing. So I can remember turning around, and I can't tell you, exactly. I can tell you there was something standing on 2 feet, and its head came to the top of Fort Rest a bit, which was an A-frame, and its head came to the top of it, and both arms were out to the side holding the front like this. And I don't, that's all, that is it. I ran like you would not believe home, right to the house. My mom met me. I was yelling like you wouldn't believe. I didn't stop to see, what is it? Nothing. I didn't know what Bigfoot even was. My mom kept me in the house till my dad came home. My dad went up there and he said he didn't see anything. Well, that's a long, my dad, he kept a lot in the woods to himself also. So that's one trauma thing that I had when I was like 4 or 5 years old. Cause, and it's one of my memories that I will remember, but I can't say if it was a bear. I can't say what it was. I can say it was big. I can say Ernie said that the Fort Respite was probably about 6 foot to the top of it, to the peak of it. So I'm figuring that this, now I'm thinking about it, I'm older, I'm thinking, oh, well, this thing had to have been, because I just looked at it for probably 2 or 3 seconds. And it had to have been about, and I wouldn't say, I'd say about 7 foot, 7, 8 foot. It wasn't that big. It could have been a bear. I don't know, but now I'm thinking about the sightings and everything going on up there.
Hey, Fran, I want to ask you one question. I apologize for interrupting you, but you had said that it put its arms up, right?
Yes. Like it was trying to look like,
well, see, a bear doesn't do that.
It was like this, and its arms was up. So, and from Ernie told me, because I was so young, I can't remember. Ernie and my dad and my sister, they all built it out there. I was just so young. But Ernie said that it was probably about 6 foot, on the peak. But I can remember it had its arms around it, and it was going like this. Mm-hmm. And that's all. I ran. I ran. That's all. That's the figure that I could see, and it was really dark. It looked, I remember the brown, and it looked like black. It was a dark colored animal, and it was big. And I didn't know what it was till this day. Now I'm thinking about it, and I'm saying, well, that was pretty, it did pretty well traumatize me on that.
Well, bears definitely can't open their arms up like that.
Yeah,
so.
oh yeah, it had its arms open. Yeah. Like this. And for a bear to stand on 2 legs to start with, is usually they're getting a sniff. Because I've been in the woods before, and usually they're getting up to get a sniff, or they feel they're aggravated. That's the only time I've seen a bear get up on 2 feet. But this bear, I can remember, was up on 2 feet. Its arms were like this, and its head cocked out to the side, like it was almost trying to look into the Fort Respite. We called it Fort Respite. And so that was that experience. And then my other experience I had was the same area. We had an area up Cobble Mountain, and we had an area up there called Indian Rock. And we'd always go up there driving around, kids and everything. We'd be driving around, doing our thing up there. And, and it was like the closest house was, I'd say probably 30 to 50 miles from the area where Indian Rock is. So we go up there, we didn't bother anybody. We're all secluded and everything. And one day we were up there, and I had bought a 1964 Chevy Nova. First car I ever bought in my life. And I had an exhaust problem with it. And the muffler kept falling off it. So what happened was we're coming up the dirt road there. You know, it's almost like a logging road. You can't get much up it. And my muffler comes off. So it breaks like this. So I got to stop. Otherwise, I'm going to push my exhaust all over the place. And I got a coat hanger. You know, back in them days, that's what we used to tie our mufflers up and everything. And when you didn't have the money. But so I got underneath the car. I opened my door, and I had a guy in the back seat, a friend of mine. His name was Tommy Gee. And I had Ernie in the passenger seat. And it was, I crawled underneath the car. I started tying up with my coat hanger there to get it up there. And I heard, I hunt a lot, so I've been in the woods a lot, and I can usually tell if it's a two-legged or four-legged animal, or if it's hopping. Like a deer will hop, but it won't make a pound. It'll hop almost, you know, I don't know how to explain it, almost like a feather almost across the leaves, but you'll hear it hopping. So I'm underneath the car, and I hear, whoom, 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 and it is just pounding, and it's coming down the side embankment. Well, now, I had shut my car off, the lights were off, and we were sitting there, and I didn't know what it was. My gut told me, get in that car and go. So just as I was rolling out from underneath the car, Ernie goes, get in the car, get in the car. We both knew it was on 2 feet, and it was coming down that embankment. We knew it was, and it was heavy. It was not a deer or, you know, it wasn't nothing. It was, you could feel it in the ground. I was laying on the ground. And we got in the car, we took off. I went up the road about probably 60 yards, knowing I have to tie that damn thing up. And sorry about the language. And I tied it up. And we got out of there. And me and Ernie looked at each other, and we said, man, he says, did you hear that? I said, yeah, it was on 2 feet, brother. To this day, I think that. I never seen it. I don't know what it was. I never seen it. But I can say it was on 2 feet, very heavy, because I could feel that. It's hard to explain. If you're a hunter, you know what I'm talking about. Like a deer that's hopping, basically jumping and running. Is more like a swish. This was, I could feel it coming down. This thing weighed probably, I would estimate it weighed probably at least 400 pounds. And when I heard that coming down the side there, my gut told me, get out. You don't want to know what it is. Just believe, just go. So we went up the road there, and the same place that encounter happened, I talked to Ernie. I hadn't been in touch with Ernie for 10 years. The same place, Ernie was up on the knoll where that came down that hill that night. That's where he had his encounter. The same exact place. So I thought that was kind of strange. I thought that was just, you know, that's just a little bit strange that he had his encounter, and he had a very close encounter. And at the very same spot that we seen that, or didn't see it, but heard it coming down that hill. And I know it was heavy. I didn't see it. And anybody in their right mind is going to know something coming down a hill like that. You're not going to wait around to see if, you know, I've been around moose. I mean, a moose can flip a car over. I've had them right next to my car. But I'm not going to sit there and wait for this thing to run my car over or whatever it's doing coming down that hill. My gut told me to get the heck out of there, and I got the heck out of there. I'm seriously telling you, but I know it weighed. It definitely weighed, and I'd never seen it. I can't tell you, you know, what it looked like or anything like that, but it was the same spot that Ernie had his encounter in up there. I thought that it was important because, you know, there's been several other people up there that have had encounters like that. And I just, you know, thought it was important. You know, if Ernie says, Ernie is a woodsman. Mm-hmm. And I have been in the woods with Ernie before. And if Ernie says that he's seen that, and I certainly believe him. and I certainly do not know what was coming down the hill that night, but I certainly believe that it wasn't aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
We had the lights off on the vehicle. We were all pretty quiet, and I was probably under it, I'd say probably 4 or 5 minutes before that thing came down the side of the hill there. But I think it was not being aggressive. It was coming down the side of that hill. I don't know if it was running deer or it was hunting. Ernie said that when he seen them, they were hunting up there. But I don't know if it was hunting and it was trying to cut something off, you know, but I don't think it was trying to be aggressive. I don't think it knew we were even there. I really don't.
Well, it's definitely very important to
get the heck out of there. You know,
I would too.
Ernie yelled to me, "Get in the car!" And I was already halfway in the car from underneath. I was underneath the car, so it was like you can imagine the feeling that you get on something like that.
I mean, that had to be extremely loud and
oh yeah, you could hear everybody, even the guy in the back seat could hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and you could hear, you know, the branches and everything.
Right.
You could hear it. It was coming down the side of that hill, man.
Well, you know, there's a lot of experiences where people are ran out of areas that Sasquatch or Sabe are in because maybe you came upon them when they're with family or little ones, or you're in their hunting ground, so they might be bluff charging you to get you out of it. But I'm sure it knew you were there from all of the people that talk about their knowledge of what's going on. Yep. If it was running towards you, I have a feeling it knew you guys were there.
Yeah, there's a good chance of it, you know. And I keep thinking, you know, you got all these scenarios. Maybe the wind was up, blowing up the hill, and it can smell us, and you know, it's hard to say. It's hard to say, but
right?
That's just and that was the exact area where we were stopped on that road. Ernie was hunting right on top there by Indian Rock. He was hunting right up there on top of Indian Rock, and that's right there. That's awesome. Right there. So I just wanted to verify that, yeah. And I believe my brother. I do. I've had that experience up there, and I've had you know, experience when I was a child in that area. And I know a lot of other people have had experiences up there. But that's my story.
That's you know, incredible. I appreciate you sharing that with us, and it is extremely important to your brother's experience. You know, like I had said at the beginning of the opening of this video, that you know, you're not the only one that we're bringing into this part two. There's 2 other people, and then your brother's going to come back in, and he's going to talk about some other people. I just wanted to mention to you, you know, we're going to talk about the people who own the apple orchard around the area that you guys lived in. Did you want to at least touch on that? Do you know anything about that happening?
Yeah, I know a little bit about that. There was, you know, when I was real young, I can remember there was this one guy up there in Montgomery, and my dad was more of a woodsman, where he took people out hunting. He did a lot of things. And there was a friend had not contacted anyone in a long time, so my dad and the sheriff went up there looking for him, and I can't remember the whole story. I was very young, but and it's, you know, they ended up, to make a long story short, they ended up finding the guy about 2 weeks later with his neck broken, about 60 foot out in his pond. They don't know what killed him or what happened, but they know that people were hearing him yell for help out there in the woods. Now, another situation, like I say, I never seen nothing, and they never, but the guy was yelling for help for several weeks. And they went out there, and my dad, he knew the woods real well, so sheriff's department, where somebody got lost, they come get my dad, and they go out there, and they ended up finding the guy. I guess people could hear him yelling for help and stuff.
For weeks, you said he was yelling for help?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, I guess the way, you know, I don't know exactly, but the way the story goes is that he was, they heard him yelling for help several times in that time. I don't know if it was
So, like he was
3
taken
days
by
or
something. So he
what's
was
that?
in the woods. He was in the woods somewhere, and no one could find where he was.
Right, but he was. They
Okay.
heard him yelling for help at night
Okay.
for a
How
couple times,
haunting. That's
and then
horrifying.
they didn't hear nothing from him. You know, he wasn't home or nothing. They didn't hear nothing from him, and they ended up going up there again and finding him with a broken neck. Something dragged him out in his barn and broke his neck, and it's like,
Oh my
well,
God.
you know, that's right up there in Montgomery, Massachusetts. That's right up there in that area, and there's a lot of other stories, you know, like that up in that area. That's why I figured I would contribute what, you know.
You know, and that really blows my mind, Fran, about, you know, when you were 4, instead of a bear, what bears do, you have something that had its arms up like this, like a human shaped body would do. Then you have a broken neck. Well, a bear's not going to break someone's neck. Somebody or something that can grab a head and snap a neck is going to do that. So something with opposable, you know, thumbs and hands, you know, that's definitely something to take into account here.
Yeah. Yep. So,
can I ask you, since I got you here at the end, what are your thoughts when you first heard your brother's experience? What was your thoughts on that?
well, my first thoughts when he told me was my brother and I we grew up together in the woods. I mean, 10 years old, I'm out there shooting cottontail rabbits. You know, we go out there and get half a dozen cottontail rabbits with our BB guns, and so when he told me the area that it was in, and I've hunted that area, and I've had some chills up my spine, and I've heard branches breaking or whatever, but I never really put them together. But when he told me about his experience up there, it just kind of sent chills down my back, and I wish I was with him. I just wish I was with him when he was there, because he was alone. Mm-hmm. He had no choice but to be submissive. So he was submissive, and he cares about animals very much. So I think it probably sensed that he wasn't going to hurt him.
They've always spoken about people having, you know, depending on the mindset of the individual, is how a lot of times the experience goes. And maybe if you were there, it would have went down differently. Yes.
If I was there, I'd, you know, me and him always hunted even deer. Anything we hunted, we tracked or we flanked, or, you know, I'll push it into you, you push it into me. Same as he said that they were doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. He goes, they were pushing into you know, another one. Well, me and him used to, you know, you go around this way, the deer are up over here, and you sit over here, and, you know, that's how we used to hunt all the time. So I you know, I understand that he knew what they were doing.
Right.
And he knew his environment. And he knew, I felt, you know, that he had to have been scared. He had to have been. Mm-hmm. But I wish I was with him. If I was with him, I would have been out on his flank. And I would have seen what he was seeing and had his back. But he said to me that he just was submissive, that he put his gun down and just went limp, basically. You know, that's a feeling you have to have if you're going to be submissive, especially to an animal.
Right.
Just be, you know, let your feeling, emotions, whatever go. And he said, that's how I did it. And he says, and that thing communicated with me and knew I wasn't going to hurt it. But if you were that and you were in the woods and you lived in the woods, ain't nobody going to see you or anything. First of all, I've seen white-tailed deer backtrack me. This thing's more than a white-tailed deer. So I think it was. I wish I was there with Ernie when he seen it.
Because, you know, one last question I want.
I wouldn't have been standing next to him, but I would have been out on his flank watching.
Well, again, you know what? I'm sure you would have liked to have been there. I mean, what a world-shaking experience. But I really do believe this, and this is not trying to take anything away from you. I don't think what happened would have happened if there would have been two of you. I think it was specifically happening because he was by himself. I don't think it would have went down with two people. And again, that's not saying that, you know, you would have brought negativism or anything to it. I just don't think it would have done it with two people there.
Yeah,
I don't know. I could be wrong.
It may have been a situation where, you know, a lot of animals that get into an area, like, say a lot of smoke's blowing up on a mountain. Before you hunt that mountain, just stand in front of a wood stove. It's going to cover you because that's all it's smelling is that smoke. You know, so it could have been a matter of, because Ernie, when he hunts, he may have been going up there for a month, scouting and looking around. So they're used to his smell.
Right.
And they're used to him being around. So it could have been, you know, I don't know, that could have been part of it, or they got used to his smell. Ernie, when he's in the woods, he usually hunts an area for a long time. So they could have been, you know, that could have been it, part of it. If I was up there, you know, wind could have been another part of it, to where they could have caught wind of me, because I wouldn't have been standing next to them. I would have been up to the side or something. They would have known there was two and there was a threat, because it was just one of them. But Ernie said two more came in, so that Ernie goes, yeah, they were pushing. They were trying to push into that one, and you know, I could connect to what Ernie's saying. I'm like, oh yeah, it makes sense. That's how they're gonna hunt. That's the only way they can hunt. They're not gonna run around there with a bow and arrow or a gun. They're gonna take it down, and just like a wolf or anything like that, they're gonna hunt like that. They're gonna push, and then they're gonna have to take it down physically. So you know, I put all that together. I'm like, oh, and he told me, Franny, they were hunting. They were hunting.
Yeah, that's like incredible. You know, I want to ask you one more question before we go. What are your thoughts now, you know, in 2024? So much more attention is brought to high strangeness or paranormal and supernatural cryptids, UFOs, things like that. Well, what are your feelings in this day and age, knowing what you know about your brother and the things looking back on your childhood? What is your general feelings and thoughts on high strangeness?
Well, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that it's there. That there's things that can't be explained. And, you know, I don't know why they can't be explained. You know, sooner or later they will be, though. I really firmly believe that. But right now they can't be explained. A lot of the stuff can't be. So we're having trouble explaining that. People like Ernie, that has had encounters face to face like that, are having a real problem trying to tell people this is real. Because, you know, a lot of other people may say, well, you know, I never seen it. But, you know, if you spend any time in the woods or anything, you've had some kind of experience. If you've been in the deep woods on something like that. And I can tell you right now that my brother says that he had that encounter. I firmly 100% believe him. And I think about my childhood, and I think about that area. I used to hunt the same area with Ernie, and it's very secluded. It connects with Granby, Southwick. It's all one range there. You can go from one end to another on dirt roads if you want. So it's definitely wooded areas. So something can survive in there, that's for sure.
Again, Mr. Davieau, I wanted to thank you, and we really appreciate it, sir.
Thank you, Matt.
Bring on our next experiencer coming up next. Ernie, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing pretty good, Matt.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I don't know how you do it. Stay up so late.
Hey, we got to get it done. And so we had your brother Fran on, and he told us about things that occurred, everything that happened. You were there for some of it. Then we had JJ Squatchman on, and he talked about the high strangeness and the Sasquatch events around his area. again, in the same vicinity that you had your experience.
Thank you.
And you have some other things that you're going to talk about. Some people didn't want to come on, but we're going to at least talk about them and what happened with them. So I'm going to turn the mic over to you again, and I'm going to let you reintroduce yourself and let everybody know about these other people and what happened with them in the areas it occurred.
Well, my name is Ernie Davieau. Most of you probably know me by now on being on Matt's show, and maybe a few other ones too. We're going to be talking about my account in the area on several people that couldn't show up. One of them, her family lived right near the apple orchards on the other side of Drake Mountain. As you've heard my story, I had two choices: one to enter from that side where the apple orchards were, or to enter from the Cobble Mountain Reservoir side and go up that side of the mountain. Well, growing up, these people lived in the apple orchard. I didn't know them. We only got permission to go up and cut through there once in a while. As it turned out, I was contacted by the daughter that lived there, and she told me the story of when she was a kid, that they had a bus stop right down just down the road from where she grew up, and that's where they first seen footprints of, we'll just say it was a Sasquatch right there by the bus stop. And the town newspaper picked that up too, and they took photographs. But it was really, the reason why she contacted me was because of her dad. Now, her dad, they were very religious people, as he used to work for Bradley International Airport. And you hear me speak of that in my encounter of a plane flying overhead, and I knew it was headed towards Bradley International Airport. It was just a little check I was doing on myself to be taking information in on that day. And he was headed towards Bradley International Airport where he worked, and he had to pass by Drake Mountain because he was just down the road. Well, he was passing by there one morning headed towards the International Airport, and what do you think came running across the road right in front of him? And he seen it, and his daughter described everything that he's seen that day, and that would have been maybe a half a mile from where I had my encounter at the top of Drake Mountain. There was many people who fished in that reservoir that were either chased out of there or just harassed by someone throwing rocks at them. That's just one case that we couldn't get them to come on because they're having medical problems right now, the family, and they really don't want to speak about that. There was another case in there that I have been trying to find this gentleman for quite a while, that his father owned a junkyard, and he also worked on VW Beetles. Everybody knew these people, and his son used to hunt that area. I never knew that, but he hunted that area and bow hunting, and I heard that it was on one of these occasions that he encountered the same exact thing that I encountered in there, and nobody ever believed that guy. I wish he would have came out a long time ago and spoke of this. But that whole system of trails up through those mountains in there, Cobble Mountain area, and Sodom Mountain, and Bad Luck Mountain, that's known as Unkinet's Path, that goes up and through there, and not many people know about that. The stories that you're obviously going to be hearing is from other people that said they'd come forward. Now, my brother Franny, there's things that I didn't know until recently about things that happened to him, but a lot of the times it was him and I that were hunting together, and that he's experienced some of those things with me. Like I said, is the whole area is steep in history on orbs and ghosts and this here too. They refer to this as the black lady when I was a kid, or the white lady, and they had found two hunters in that area that both had their necks broken. Now, if you're familiar with my story, these are things that I passed off. I just let it go. It didn't bother me one single bit. I didn't really believe that there was anything running around, even though I had seen tracks or a little bit of evidence. It was something that you pass off when you're out there. You don't believe it's there, so you're not going to see that it's there. Where we grew up was in Montgomery, and from Cobble Mountain, that probably would have been maybe 10 miles. We've had incidences in Montgomery. My brother had an incident there that I was completely unaware of until about 2 years ago, and he told me about it. I said, "You need to tell Matt. Matt perhaps will give you a phone call, and you can talk to Matt about that." And as it turns out, is in the town that we lived in, a very small town of roughly 32 to 38 people, we've had a couple of cattle mutilations there, and we've also had 2 deaths in there that nobody ever solved. Nobody knew what had happened, other than the fact that one young man actually, they found him sitting up against a tree with a cigarette between his fingers, burned down, and the autopsy was he died of fright. The other gentleman was back when I was a young kid, and my father knew the town constable. We knew their family, and he was called repeatedly to go to a place called Shadrack Pond by 2 of the people, the husband and wife that lived right near Shadrack Pond. They actually owned that acreage there, that he had heard calls for help. Well, it enveloped into them not finding anything on the first day. On the second day, he heard these calls for help, and they called the Russell State Police Barracks, and they came up and they didn't find anything. And the third day, same thing happened again. And the fourth day, nobody responded to this man, and he went in there by himself, and he never came back out again. His wife had called the town constable and my dad, and they got a hold of the Russell police again, and they went in there and they found him over 20 feet in the mud with his neck broke. So those are just some of the things that happened in that area. Now, again, if you've heard my encounter, I really didn't think anything of these things where I was hunting. I hunted a lot of times also by myself. If it wasn't just by myself, it was with my little brother. And that's the day that I had my encounter, was when I was by myself. And I was going into the Cobble Mountain area on Drake Mountain. So as Matt knows, now he's heard more from the witnesses than I've actually heard from these witnesses. I know a little bit about each one of them and the ongoing research that's in the area being conducted by one man in there. And Matt could tell you a little bit more about him than I could, because he's had a better chance to interview him.
You know what, Ernie, I want to bring up something. When I was talking to your brother, Fran, he had said to me he really wished that he had gone with you that day hunting. I thought about, everything. You and I are firm believers of everything happens for reasons.
Yeah.
I said to Fran, I said, I understand you'd want to be there with your brother. And he almost got a protective kind of air about him that, I would have been there and had his back and all that. But then I said to him, what, I'm going to be honest with you, Fran. I don't think it would have happened. if he was there. I think, just like you and I have spoken about, for whatever reason, the two of us had things happen to us, and we were, if you want to say, chosen. I don't want to like make anybody mad by saying that. I don't mean like we're the chosen ones or anything.
Yeah.
We for some reason were picked to have something incredible happen to us. Mine wasn't positive like yours, but it was still life altering. I don't believe that would have happened with you. What's your thoughts on that if Fran was there?
My thoughts are there are no coincidences. You and I are both in agreement on that. There are absolutely no coincidences in this world. Nobody will ever convince me that something was a coincidence. There is always a reason. If you sit down at peace and think about it, there's always a reason why something happened. I'll tell everybody right now. I surely wished that he was there, that he could have seen that with me. And I'm sure that he thoroughly wished that he could have been there to see it himself. We're very, very close. Matt and I are very close. I wish that I could have been there. We've talked about that and seen the dogman and him vice versa. That being said, just to let everybody know that there was a time not too long ago that I believe they were completely flesh and blood. And now I'm not so completely convinced about that, knowing everything of the area, about the orbs, about there's a 4,000-year-old archaeological dig going on there in the Native American site, and there's been orbs around there. There has always been, and when I think about that, I mean, under the circumstances of the way that they vacated the area after my encounter, it doesn't mean anything. But if you listen to that encounter, one of the things that I've gone over in my head many times is I don't know how it got to the tree where I seen it the first time, where it was next to that tree on the ground. I scanned that area to make sure there wasn't anything in that area to scare the deer from coming over that stone wall. And when it finally seen me, it was completely surprised. It had the look on its face like, where did the guy come from? And that's a hand signal it gave to me. When I spoke with Chief Ernest over this, that is one of the things that he had asked me. He said, did you have any sense of the time was different? And I don't know. I don't have the words to explain that to people other than you're going to have to think on the lines of where you're sitting right now. If the time had really changed, if you watched it on the clock, did it go backwards? And how would that feel? I can't put that feeling into anybody. But when Chief Ernest asked me that question, I had to really think that morning what it felt like. And there was something a little bit different. Whether that's in my subconscious now, in the back of my mind that I didn't want to face, I don't know. But just by the way that it looked at me, like, how did you get there? And I was in the open. I was completely in the open. The only things that could not see me would have been the deer. And it would have been too late for them had they come over that stone wall. As I would have taken one. It's bewildering to a lot of people that they would eat me or they could be seen here or with a fish or whatever. But tracks do disappear. And me being a hunter, I mean, I've seen tracks that were rubbed out. Why, I don't know. But they do have a tendency to be able to just be gone. That people will lose those tracks, and everybody reports that in there. We'll call that the woo for all the people out there.
I'm so glad you said that because it was coming from me if you didn't say it. I wanted to mention this, and for you too, Ernie, you can find it on a lot of different TV apps, but specifically I saw it this past Sunday morning early on Amazon Prime from Resonance Productions. Brett Eichenberger, the founder and director, and his wife Joe Remensnyder, the producer and writer, they came out with one of the most incredible Bigfoot documentaries I have ever seen in my life. It's called A Flash of Beauty, Paranormal Bigfoot. I cannot recommend this more to you, Ernie, or anybody else that is seeing this video. It is so incredible, touches on everything. The woo is even mentioned in it. There is even video of a woman who's speaking about being a sensitive and like a psychic, and that she's had mind speak and seen Sasquatch and that. And, anybody is going to start to be like, yeah, I'm not so sure if that. But later in the video, they end up showing video of her. They go super close, zoom up on her face, and there's little tiny balls of energy flying around her face. Difference. I have goosebumps. And then, just like in my Beaver Creek EVP, when you hear the grunt, they're sitting there and they hear it with their own ears. There's a grunt, and the girl goes, while they're recording her, she goes, "Did you guys hear that?" And the people behind the camera, who I just mentioned, go, "Yeah, we heard it. It was like a growl." And they all heard it. It sounded almost similar to my Beaver Creek grunt. It was just a little longer and more,
And I've heard
more,
that one.
more almost like kind of like mean. It was but they talk about ball lightning. They talk about orbs. They show video of orbs. They talk about what happened with me with my dogman encounter with the predator effect, the cloaking with the front left arm. They talk about people have seen Sasquatch cloak. They have an actual video of a cloaked Bigfoot running through the woods, knocking over a little tree and bushes all spread. And the lady on the video goes, "Did you guys just see that? Did you see it?" And they have it on video. And a guy talks about specifically the predator effect. So this is a video 100% about the woo. The end of the video is the most incredible. Two different guys finish the video off telling one of the most incredible Bigfoot on par with yours, but different. It's woo-woo. It's big woo. They see a big Sasquatch standing next to a telephone pole, and the two of them corroborate the story. They're in a truck that came around a corner. And they see this giant 10-foot. They were able to measure. They did what you did, Ernie. The guy looked at the metal wire that comes off the side of a telephone pole and has the yellow marker on it. And he said it was so much above that marker, and they measured and got 10 feet. This thing ended up going down and curling up in a fetal position. And as it did, it started to physically shrink in size, changed color to the orange of an orangutan, then turned into an orange ball of light. That orange ball of light then turned into a geometric shape of almost like a rectangle. And then all of a sudden, gone, like the shadow my dogman turned into. And when it was gone, this thing, like a bright sun, they said it was the color of the sun, gone, bam, it left a trail of light behind it. Watch it. It's mind-blowing. It's one of the best documentaries I've ever seen, all about the woo, everything, Ernie, you just spoke about. So I love that you touched on that. From your experience, just, you don't have to go over it. Just let everybody know what it did to change your life, what it's meant to you, how it's made you look at the world differently in general, and made Ernie Davieau the man he is today. How has that changed you into who you are?
Wow, it's changed me in a way that growing up, I grew up in a religious family. We went to church every Sunday, and there was only one thing to believe in, and that would have been your God. And that's what's changed, pretty much. Because after this happened to me, there couldn't have been just either he had to come out with it and create it or whatever. It was kept secret from us. But if that existed for me, then what else could exist out there? I had to open up my mind and start digging in deep on what are the possibilities, what other information is hidden from us. Because let's face it, it should have been everywhere. You know, there are a lot of accounts, historical accounts out there. After my encounter, I prayed a lot that somebody else would come out and say they seen the same thing as me. It didn't matter if you came out and said you seen a Sasquatch 100 yards away or 50 yards or 20 yards away. No, it had to be something related to what I had seen with the sign language and everything. That was mind-boggling, and I was just hoping that somebody would do that, so I wouldn't feel so crazy that perhaps other people would be willing to listen to this and utilize the information or whatever. It would have only taken one person, and then I would have joined forces with them. But then, after 35, 36 years, nobody ever did. And I felt very deeply that what I needed to do is to get one thing off my chest, is to stand up, is to be the guy standing in the field, and for the people who get ridiculed or bullied off of different forums, and let them know that I'm here, I'll listen to you, I know that they're there, I know what their capabilities are, and together we could probably all solve this. But it took that one person, and since nobody else did it, I had to learn my own courage. I had to go through all the trials and tribulations in my life to get the courage up to come forward with this for some of you people that may be listening now who are eyewitnesses or will be an eyewitness. Because if you keep going out there in the woods and you do it the right way, you probably are going to encounter one of these, or one of these dogmen like Matt, you know, and it's going to be at that point that you're going to want to be able to talk to somebody, and trust me.
You've been having people reach out, and people have been commenting in you know, the comments section, thanking you and I both for what we've been doing. I can't tell how many people have reached out that have just said, you know, I was going to take this to my grave, but because you had the guts to do that, I'm going to do it. Or just thank you. And the people, and again, in our interview, from our first interview, just one after another, bam, bam, tons of them. Just can't tell you two how much we appreciate you doing this. So for you know, if it's worth anything, it's worth that. It means the world. And you know, this is, I always say this. So as important as this is to me, as serious as this is to the both of us, at the end of the day, you know, be unfortunate or not, or whatever you want to call it, these channels are for entertainment. Okay. It's up to all of you to decide if you believe this, what you think of it, you know, what you want to make of it. This really happened to both of us. People need to understand that there's stuff going on out there that's not easy to wrap your head around. We're not going anywhere. You're going to see a lot of Ernie and a lot of me, and you know, hopefully we can help to figure stuff out, and at least touch on it, and help expand your minds as we go. But Ernie, I want to thank you for being here again, and
thanks a lot, Matt. I really enjoy it.
Thank you, as always.